Hey there, welcome back to SMP Theory. Before we jump into the video, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone for all the support. Again, it means a ton and I'm super excited to continue on with this channel. Today I have something a little bit different than a typical theory. I'm currently working on like a full-blown theory slash character analysis of Wilbur Soot that's taking me a while, so I had this idea for a video to put out in the meantime. Basically, I was thinking that anytime we have a Tales from the SMP episode, I could make these little videos kind of recapping everything that happened and some potential theories about stuff. Kind of like a little mini theory in between some of the bigger lore and theory videos. So this video is going to be broken down into two parts. The first part's going to go over the actual Tales episode and everything that happened, and the second part will talk solely about the in-between and the new information we learned. And I'm just going to kind of mention as many theories as I can, just things that I think are fun or interesting to think about, and that's kind of how I want these theories to work, just kind of throw in a bunch of fun theories for you all to think about and maybe expand on into this whole thing. And by the way, let me know what you think about this idea, and if you like this concept, because maybe I'll do it more.
Anyways, I hope you enjoy the video.
Tales episode was called The Haunted Mansion, and Karl lets us know that it takes place in the very near future, seeing as we have Connor playing his actual present SMP character, and we have Schlatt also doing the same. This episode starts with Karl finding Connor in a small little Airbnb, and Connor introducing us to all his unique and familiar friends. We have Rash, Francis, Joey, Greg, the twins Ash and Zachary, Porkums, and Gump.
Gump. Gump.
Anyway, they all hang out for a bit until Schlatt as a ghost, so I guess Glatt, arrives at the door. We get some information of what Schlatt's been doing since he died. Apparently, he decided to become a landlord and rent out Airbnbs to people.
I took my time as, the president of the Dream SMP, and I reflected on it, and I read the Bible, and I decided that the next best thing, besides ruling over the land, would be to actually own property.
Ooh!
And become a landlord.
He also tells the group that he will give them a free night in a giant Airbnb mansion he rents out, so that they all go there. Based on this, we can kind of assume Glatt seems to have knowledge, and is pretty much the same person he was before he died. He talks a lot about things that he would only know if he was truly the Schlatt that remembers everything, which is unlike Ghostbur, who only had good memories when he was a ghost. Now, this is a touch off topic, but it brings me to kind of an interesting theory I want to mention really quick. We saw in the main SMP lore the other day, by the way, spoilers, that Dream was very shocked when he successfully brought Tommy back to life. What if Dream had tried this before? He revived Tommy to see what would happen. Dream seemed pretty certain in a sense that he could bring Tommy back, considering he needs Tommy, and the fact that he killed him seems odd and kind of against what he would normally do. So the odds that he trusted Schlatt saying that the book worked are pretty low. You would assume he would want to test it out himself. So maybe his first attempt was bringing Wilbur back, and maybe for some reason it only revived the good parts and the good memories in Ghostbur, and that didn't really help Dream out. So maybe he tried again, and he got Schlatt fully back with all of his memories, but still as Glatt, a ghost, and he didn't actually regain life, which would explain why those ghosts are different. And maybe Tommy was kind of his third attempt, someone he was actually able to bring back to real life, and that's why he was so surprised when he was able to do it. It could also have to do with unfinished business or something like that as to why these ghosts are different, but it's definitely something we should be thinking about. Anyways, Schlatt then Baba Booies Connor into his lair, and has the rest of the group go to 3 different hallways to get 3 different nether stars in order to open the lair and save Connor. I've been seeing a ton of speculation that maybe those nether stars each represent a canon life, and that he was trying to manipulate the group into reviving him, which would be crazy as a twist, but it's pretty deep speculation, so the likelihood is low, but I thought it would be fun to bring up anyways. After they each get another star, Karl has the chat vote, or rather he thinks for a minute, on who will place the star, and whoever does so ends up in the lair with Connor, along with sometimes someone else that Schlatt just picks. First it was Porkums, and later on in the second hallway, Glatt also decided to take Gump. The second person to place a star was Francis, who was taken along with Zachary, one of the twins. The last star was placed by Greg, who was also taken away before the remaining group finally found this lair Schlatt was hiding all these people in. They endured tons of trials with things like mazes and parkour to get to each of the stars and into the lair, and to find all their friends apparently dead, killed by Glatt. However, it turned out that they were all alive and just having fun in this lair Glatt has, and no one was actually in any danger. Glatt says that sometimes he likes to have people come into the Airbnbs just to have friends to hang out with, and that he's really lonely as a ghost. Then Karl leaves and enters the In-Between segment, but before we get to that, let's talk about this Tales episode as a whole. Getting some insight into Glatt and Schlatt was really interesting, and it seems that maybe being a ghost and also being so alone for a long time has changed him a bit, and he would rather just have a fun game to play than actually kill anyone, like Karl and the others might have first suspected. If somehow Schlatt is brought back, it would definitely be interesting to see how he's changed, and it seems like maybe he would want to be brought back considering his loneliness, so we'll see what ends up happening there. As Dream says he really wants to bring back people who seems like they would hurt Tommy, and Schlatt would do that for sure. Another fun theory is that Francis is actually just Dream in disguise. Now, while Karl has said resemblance to other SMP members by the characters from these tales is coincidental, it is brought up multiple times specifically how Francis reminds Karl an awful lot of Dream, which is a touch suspicious.
It's okay. You'll love Francis. This is Francis here. He's a great guy.
This is Francis. So he doesn't remind you of anybody that you know?
Oh, man. Listen, I have a lot of friends in prison, and let me tell you, he definitely fits the bill. But it's Francis.
So if somehow Wilbur is revived by Dream, and Dream escapes the jail and is on the run, then this could definitely be the case, and I think that would be actually incredible if true. Anyway, that's a short recap of the main Tales episode and some fun and maybe possible theories to go along with it, but now it's time for the juicy stuff. Let's talk about the In-Between. Karl ends up in this strange world again to another book welcoming him back, repeating a phrase I mentioned is constantly repeated in my last In-Between video. Quote, "Fear not, this is not a place to provoke harm, but a place to feel at ease," end quote. Like I said before, this is definitely suspicious, and I think at this point we can be pretty certain that the In-Between is a bad place, leading Karl into something bad, or maybe even away from some sort of truth. Something else that's new in this Tales episode is how a lot of these book entries end with a smile. A smile that's a face made with a bracket. Now, in my mind, this could truly mean a lot of things. My first thought while watching this still went to Dream, that maybe he was using this smile to allude to the normal parenthetical smile he uses, and that defines his character. Not to mention, the very last book Karl reads says, quote, "It's a time traveler's dream," end quote, which is oddly suspicious language to be using here, Karl. And it would still make sense to be Dream stopping Karl from stopping Dream's plans somehow. However, there's still a lot more options as to who this could be, considering it's not the true smiley face Dream would use, so we can't really prove it's him. Another option could maybe be Ranboo. Maybe this smile signifies that Ranboo is under Dream's control, and the Dream reference is another way to show that he's under this control. But anyway, let's keep looking at what happens in the In-Between, and we'll come back to that later. Karl keeps reading, and the book seems to want to answer all his questions and teach him more about this place during this visit. And at least in my opinion, the more the in-between segments that we get, the weirder the author of these books get, and the more they almost sound like they're clinging to Karl desperately and hoping he's going to listen to what the books say. Anyways, the second book talks about how the different Karls come through the SMP and how they have a little bedroom for when they get tired. This, to me, just seems like another piece of evidence, kind of to confirm the fact that this place is still in time, and that Karls from all different times end up back in this one spot. But then Karl finds a book titled with question marks, and things start to get interesting. The book tells him to find a way to the portal, and that it's, quote, more important than you know, end quote. This appears to be the same author from the last Tales episode, who also tried to convince Karl to leave the path the main book was leading him on, as these books are always in all caps and they don't have actual titles to them, just question marks, along with being more hidden than the other books Karl reads. Karl sees the portal being talked about here, but is told by a book titled Stop not to stray from the path, just like it did in the last episode. Again, this is the main author, seeming to try and stop Karl from uncovering what's actually going on here. Anyways, we get back on the path and to another normal book that talks about how out of everywhere those time travelers could have gone, they chose the in-between, and we see a bunch of Karls all wandering about. Now, assuming this place is evil, maybe all the Karls we see roaming around are actually trapped in the in-between. Maybe they have no other choice. It doesn't seem like Karl can really choose not to go into the in-between after he travels, so this seems like a weird and manipulative play by the author. But after this, Karl finds another book, telling him to go under the tree. Again, the same message given to him in the last episode, also with a book titled with question marks and in all caps. And this book also happens to say that he can't afford not to. But this time, unlike the last Tales episode, he dives into the water and actually looks under the tree. Karl finds a small room with more books in all caps that seem happy that he actually did what they said. It tells Karl not to trust the castle, that he doesn't want to, quote, know the truth about those other forms of you, end quote. This, to me, still makes me think that maybe those Karls are trapped and truly have no choice in being there, that they're almost prisoners to the in-between, but there is definitely something up there. The book keeps telling him to find a way into the portal and also says, quote, it can't see you down here, end quote. The fact that it uses the phrase it in this situation is a bit suspicious. I assumed by this that it meant the in-between. As we were told in the last episode, it's alive and always evolving. Maybe the in-between is really alive and kind of has control over Karl or can see what he's up to, in a sense. And assuming it was made by someone like Dream or someone else evil probably isn't great. Karl leaves the room and finds a giant path of books saying to stick to the path under wither roses, so Karl continues forward and reads one final book. This book is one that calls it a, quote, time traveler's dream, end quote, and it tells Karl he must keep these stories safe. Again, assuming it's an evil place, maybe that's what it wants. The books Karl writes, for one reason or another. They seem to be really important, and it always touches on those every time Karl goes to the in-between. The final book ends with, quote, the SMP needs you, and you need me. We make a good team. See you soon. Smiley face. End quote. So what I kind of concluded from all this is that there's some evil person or thing that made the in-between, potentially to get Karl to make this library, and everything that these books seem to be saying feel more and more manipulative as things go forward. We also know there is someone trying to save Karl. It could still be another form of Karl, like I mentioned in a previous theory, or it could even be the good side of Ranboo fighting against the evil side, or someone we don't even know yet. Anyways, that's pretty much all I've got to recap and theorize about the Haunted Mansion Tales from the SMP, along with that in-between segment we got. Feel free to let me know what you think, and leave your theories down below. I'd love to know if you maybe have any bigger theories about those little theories I touched on, or anything like that. And this whole storyline just keeps getting more and more interesting, so I'm excited to see what you guys have to say, and what happens next. By the way, hopefully that analysis on Wilbur can be released before Dream revives him if he goes through with that, but we'll see. I'm kind of planning on making it like a bigger video, half an hour maybe, talking about Wilbur throughout the entirety of the SMP, touching on theories, different stuff like that, so that should be exciting, and I think it's going to turn out really well. But that Wilbur video will also have the link to the final theorizing Discord for all our theories and discussions on the SMP, so get hyped for that. Sorry it's taken me a minute, but I just tried to figure out Discord, but I think I've got it. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you all soon. Bye!